Bella, let's get it recorded. Let's go.
Let's do this.
All right.
Amanda, you go ahead. You start.
Well, hey, everyone. What is up? Welcome to day 5 of Vision to Reality. This is Foundations for Success, or Systems to Convert, right?
That is right. And I am Mike Shaw. I'm here in the St. Louis area, and we have taken internet leads for a long time. How long have you been taking internet leads, Amanda?
Since the dawn of time. No, we've been working internet leads ever since I started in real estate back in 2016.
Wow, yeah. I think my first internet lead was 2012. And folks, there's all kinds of internet leads. So regardless of what you're working, actually, hey, put in the chat if you're working some sort of internet lead, or heck, any sort of paid, unpaid lead that comes inbound that you need to respond to. Put that in the chat. Just say yes, me, hi. There we go. Paid leads. Had a baby. Does SM count? What's SM?
Social media.
Oh, yeah.
Paid leads.
Yep. Paid leads, Facebook leads. Yeah, anything that comes from an inbound source. It could be just your Google business page if you have one of those, anything like that. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And we're going to talk about efficient follow-up methods. We're going to talk about what converting is, what converting isn't. And we're going to just talk about some strategies to help you track this to boost your conversion rates. So without further ado, let's do this.
All right.
Advance the slide.
Let's do it.
All right, Amanda.
Okay, so this is a bit about process. Can we all agree that the internet lead has changed in recent times? I mean, heck, Mike, can we agree that we have changed a lot in recent times?
I've totally changed.
Yeah.
Totally changed.
Another thing that's come to play in this big change that we've had in ourselves as consumers in general with our clients, we've got an instant gratification mindset. We want it and we want it now. We want it easy and we want it fast, right? Does that sound about right?
Totally. Yeah. I can't put my finger on why things seem to have changed so much with internet leads, but I think it's just the proliferation of like where our eyeballs tend to go. We are never further away than from our phone, than arm's length, it seems.
Mine's right.
We're getting all of our information, right? We've cut the cord on cable most times, so our eyes are glued to our laptops or tablets or phones, and therefore our tastes, our purchasing choices have changed. The way we obtain our information has changed, and that precludes the realtor needing to change a little bit as well. So, go ahead.
Oh, you go.
No, we were just going to talk about how if you have kind of a fixed mindset right now, this post-COVID, I guess for lack of a better term, this post-COVID world that we're in, where all the eyeballs are looking on the internet, they're looking for someone to say yes. If you are a fixed mindset, you're not a growth mindset, or you're kind of operating in that 2018 phase before all this happened, before all this conversion tracking became really paramount. You need to adapt, you need to evolve. And this isn't because the market is doing what it's doing right now. It's just kind of a clue that this is the way it's going to be. And if you're taking internet leads, you need to have your head on a swivel, and you need to have your language right. And most importantly, we'll get to this later, your follow-up needs to be on point. There's a big reason for that. We'll come up to that in a second. So we have an analogy
to kick us off.
You go for it.
This is my favorite. I think there's no better way to start the theory of the modern day consumer than what I refer to as be like Uber, the Uber analogy, right? So the way we think about it is we've got modern day consumer, right? So we got to be the modern day agent. And then we have the old school agent, or the old school consumer, pre-COVID, pre the big internet boom, pre the instant gratification, pre on demand, right? So if we think about Uber, it's fast and it's easy, right? When I'm out and I want to get an Uber, all I do is push a button on this little device here, and the Uber shows up. And even I can even track them on my phone. And I expect them to be at my destination within 2 to 7 minutes. I'm going to jump in their car. It's going to be easy. I'm going to safely get home, right? Now let's think back to taxi cabs. I don't remember the last time I was in a taxi cab, but I always remembered hating it. You call like a 333 beep beep phone number or whatever it is, and they're like, great, we'll send you someone. And you're like, okie dokie.
When?
Could that be in 3 minutes or could that be in 3 hours? Like nobody knows. And if the taxi can't find you, they never really called you to say that they couldn't find you, or if they weren't going to show up, they never called you. They just didn't show up. Like that's archaic. Consumers didn't like that. Insert Uber. Everyone's happier, right? And the key with Uber is you push a button and they show up. They don't call you and go, hey, before I approve your ride, I'm going to need to know, have you been drinking? Are you stinky? Are you sweaty? Are your clothes wet? Are your shoes muddy? Are you going to puke in my cab? Are your friends really obnoxious? They don't do that. They just show up. That's what the modern day consumer wants. Now, if we equate this to real estate, people want an easy button. They typically just want to see a house. They want to get in the door. They want to be helped. They don't want to be peppered with 1,000 different questions. The more you pepper them and give them what they don't want, the more they're going to retreat and back away from you, right? So we got to be like Uber.
People, I'm going to drop a little hand grenade on you, and you guys decide if this is a nuke for you, because here it is. People hate being qualified. Now, that might be a dirty word in the real estate terms here. You do want to know, like, are you working with another agent? Are you pre-qualified? Do you have a house to sell, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Do they want to know that do they want to be answering all those questions the first time you talk to them? I mean, put yourself in their shoes. An Uber driver is not going to ask you if you call Lyft too. They're not going to ask you if you have your credit card on you. They're not going to ask, hey, have you ever used Uber before? Do you know this process? You want somebody, imagine, okay, check this out, Amanda. Imagine telling your 2002 self or your 2010 self what Uber is like. It's like, all you do is you just get on your phone and you hit a button and like somebody shows up. Like, could you imagine your past self would be like, what?
I'd be like, yeah, right. Yeah, right.
It's the future. So anyway, the point is, I mean, I love it. It's just, you've got to evolve. You've got to be like Uber. You've got to turn into what this consumer wants. And before I advance the next slide, I want to blame this a little bit on Amazon, and I want to blame it on you. This person right here that I'm looking at in the screen. We all shop on Amazon, right? Put in the chat if you do not shop on Amazon. Hopefully that's just kind of like silent. But when you do shop on Amazon, I want you to put in the chat, what are some of the things you initially sort? Like if you're buying this water bottle, right? There's like 1,000 of them out there. If you're buying a water bottle on Amazon, what do you typically like to sort by? Go in the chat. We'll give you 10 seconds.
Oh, they got to have fast fingers. Water bottle.
Well, right. That's all. That's my fault. That's my fault. When you have like all the results there, there's 1,000 results. There's 50 pages. Reviews, price, somebody best reviewed, shortest delivery time. Ah, baby.
Hey,
yeah.
I get
Okay.
it. Price, cheapest, LOL. I'm also LOLing. I don't disagree. Fiji, seller, prime.
There we go.
Okay.
And you're not just telling us what we want to hear, because I do the same thing. When you have the modern consumer, here you go, guys. The modern consumer, when you have an abundance of choices, before you even get into brand and style and maybe even price, you're first expecting speed and then you're expecting quality, because you're just whittling down all of the available choices to you.
Mm-hmm.
Does anyone know where I'm going with this?
Tell us, Mike, tell us.
It's a two-part thing, is that the modern consumer is expecting this speed and quality over everything else. So they're going to go to a website, or they're going to go to whatever lead platform is being delivered from you, and they are expecting to connect with somebody who's 5 stars, because that's what they want. We're used to that everywhere we go. We have the ability to select what the best thing is and the fastest it will get in my hands. We have that ability everywhere. So they're applying that mentality toward real estate, which is fair. So when you're taking that phone call, and we could get into scripting and all that stuff at a later time, but when you're taking that call, are you delivering a 5-star experience? So that's the first thing.
Mhm.
The second thing is, when you're not taking leads, are you a 5-star agent in your spare time? Are you hanging out with 1-star people? Are you reading 2-star reviews? Are you working at maybe perhaps a 2-star brokerage? Are you not surrounding yourself with enough resources to give you that 5-star experience? I think that's a really interesting question, because when we talk about adapting, what are we trying to adapt into? I mean, like, that's an open-ended question. What are we trying to adapt into? And it's very simple. It's you gotta say yes. We can climb Mount Everest with the qualifying questions and all that stuff later, but are we delivering the Uber? Are we delivering the Amazon experience? That's what people want. That's what you want as a retail consumer. Think about that for a second. So when you set your tasks for the day, when you gather your information, make sure it's that 4-star review or higher, because that's what people are going to expect from you. Cool.
I
Any
love
questions on here before we proceed? Any questions in the chat? Reality check.
I like
Yeah,
that.
baby.
Thanks, RCC.
Yeah. So when, like, we're talking about morphing into the modern day agent, I've coached a ton of agents here in the Midwest, maybe hundreds and hundreds of agents that are either with us or not with us anymore. And I've heard kind of a common theme with agents is that I'm too young, I'm too old, I'm bad with tech. Oh, I'm not sure if I'll know how to handle that situation, or I just don't know if I can evolve, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. When we talk about taking internet leads and we talk about conversion, you have to let all that go. You're setting a limitation before you even lift off. In fact, I mean, how many people probably like the idea of working with a total stranger over their SOI? Put that in the chat. Amanda, what do you think? I mean, do you like what's your stance on that? SOI versus stranger.
I would love to work with my sphere. They know me, they trust me. They probably reached out to me. We're probably friends on social media. We've probably had a couple beers before, or hard, ciders, whatever it is. They're
Yeah.
my friends. Internet leads are strangers. Who knows what you're going to get?
Yeah. It's a chance to get into character either way. Your SOI, sorry, sphere of influence, if you're not on that term, but it's a chance for you to start over. It's a chance for you to get into character. But more importantly, it's a chance for you to deliver a service without maybe somebody knowing really what they expect from you to begin with. So what is conversion and what isn't it? Conversion's tracking. Conversion is saying yes. Conversion is understanding that maybe the buyer or the seller is probably nervous. They've never done this, so they don't know what they're getting. And understand this: when somebody clicks contact agent on the internet, they know what's going to happen, right? I mean, that's just not like an actual. It's 2023 coming up here pretty soon, folks. You know that if you hit a button like that, somebody's calling you, or you're going to be connected with somebody. And so that could be a moment, like if Amanda and her husband were searching for homes and they're like, okay, honey, are you sure you want to do this? Like, we're raising our hand. It's time to do this. Contact agent. And then they contact the agent, and then somebody gets on the phone. I'm gonna pick up my mouth, right? It's my phone. They're gonna pick up the phone and be like, hey man, it's Mike with DRG. It looks like you want to see this house. That's what they waited all that time to hear. That's a moment for them. And so if they don't get what they thought they were going to get by clicking that button, what do you think they're going to do? Put that in the chat.
Oh, I'm spoiler alerting.
No. Go ahead, you can answer it. But what do you think they're going to do if they get a substandard experience in that first 6 seconds of talking to a professional in their local market?
I think that they would find someone else. Find another agent. Not respond or hang up.
Right? Because we have choices. That agent did not deliver quality, and they certainly did not deliver some sort of speed. They're talking slow. They're telling us that they can't show us the house until tomorrow, or oh, I don't know, it's just not available. It's showings, don't start till Sunday or whatever. Listen, guys, the modern consumer is ready, willing, and able to find somebody to get the job done, not to find a house right away. They don't buy the first house they see 9 times out of 10, maybe even 10 times out of 10. Let's just be honest. But they are ready to find somebody who's going to get the job done. Cool. Any questions there? We are rolling.
We're crushing it. This is good stuff.
All right, Amanda, this is you.
It's all me. What's our job? Sell houses, right? It's a good thing to think about is, what do we wake up every single day to do? Let's think about that for a second. Because I think a lot of the times we get confused. Amy says sell a home. Andrea says sell a home. I like you. Good answer. Good answer. I feel like I'm on what is that, Family Feud? Good answer. Good answer.
Yeah.
For you guys. Good answer. Run a business. Hey, Lori, can you make sure to share to everyone when you're hopping in the chat? I want to make sure everyone on can see all your awesome contributions and questions, etc. So yeah, in short, our job every single day is to sell a house. So the question I ask you is, where are you spending your time? Are you spending your time with income generators, or are you spending your money with time wasters? How do you start your day, right? The most important part of your day is the beginning of the day. That's before things get crazy. That's before all those, metaphorical snipers come in and start peppering you with low appraisals, bad inspections, clients that want to terminate, right? You get a termination on your listing. That stuff typically will happen later on in the day. So what are you doing in the beginning of the day to make money for yourself? Right? So here are just examples of what we do to make money. Showing houses, yeah. Writing offers, yeah. Negotiating, yeah, that helps make us money. Now there's 2 right here that are listed that I didn't bring up because they deserve their own category. We've got time blocking and follow-up. That is your biggest money maker, period. Drop the mic. Time blocking and follow-up. Now, are those, in your opinion, Mike, would you say that time blocking and lead follow-up are the most exciting part of your real estate business?
Absolutely not.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. Thank you for your honesty. I know I would much rather be showing cool houses or writing offers or negotiating. I like to do that. That stuff is
glam,
fun.
the HGTV.
Yeah. The glitz, the glam. I can pretend like I'm on Selling Sunset and I'm like, welcome to this condo, right? That's fun. Time blocking, that's boring. And guess what? It is boring, and you got to be boring for just a couple hours a day. Because what happens if you're not boring for a couple hours a day, you're not following up with your leads, you're not nurturing your leads, you're not lead generating to actively find more leads. You don't get the right to do the other fun stuff because you're not going to have any clients. And guess what? When you're not following up with your leads, there's another agent that's hungrier. That is.
Oh, bomb drop there.
Oopsies. Did I say that out loud? Sorry.
Yeah. Everybody, hey, it's Friday, right?
Yeah.
Thank goodness. But let's be real. Sometimes we like being lazy. Sometimes we like taking the day off. I want to tell you, this is me personally, I'm taking my coach hat off for a second. I don't want to work forever. I want to ride the wave at the highest peak. Is that the crest? I'm from the Midwest. I don't know. I want to ride the top of the wave for as long as I can. Why? So that I don't have to work that hard later. Why settle for being average for 10 years when you can be a badass for 5? Sorry. So time blocking and follow-up, I want to do it and I'm excited about it. I know it's not fun, but it's efficient. And I only have the same amount of hours in the day that you all have. So I want to get it done so I can be done. And I want to make money and I want to help people. Okay. But they're very, very important things. And look, obedience versus discipline. You can be obedient, right? You can keep a calendar and you can follow a clock and do all that and say that you're going to do the things that you want to do. You can even make a list the night before of all the tasks that you want to get done the next day. But are you disciplined enough to actually do it? And that's a big deal. For a lot of us, we're not that disciplined. You know, we're all over the place, right? You know, whoa, squirrel, and whoa, the show's on, I gotta go. But that's the point. You can be obedient to everything and you can listen to what we're saying and track everything and do all this stuff, but are you going to be disciplined enough to follow it? That could be the difference between maybe your low rate of conversion if you're tracking that, and just being world beater. So
I like that. Obedience versus discipline, two different things. Again, sometimes people probably get confused with that.
absolutely. I did. I've
Yeah.
made every mistake there is to make, and my goal now is just to share it. Like it's like kind of like a don't let this happen to you phase, where I've got to share all the things that didn't work and pass it along to you now. So
That's good stuff. Yeah, you guys know Damon from Shark Tank?
Mhm.
Yeah, he was recently speaking. I think he was speaking at a conference in Vegas recently, and I heard some cliff notes from his session, from his, you know, what he spoke about. And he said that you learn in two ways. You learn from your mentors or your mistakes, right? So it's okay to make mistakes. And if we're going through this and you're thinking, gosh, I've been spending a lot of time wasting time, or gosh, I've been spending a lot of time acting like not the modern day agent. I've been spending too much time getting in the way of meeting with people face to face. I'm looking for reasons to say no to meeting with people. I'm trying to pre-qualify people in the first 10 seconds of meeting them. It's okay. It's okay if that's something that you're doing now, because guess what? It's never too late to turn it back around and learn something new, right? So this is all good news stuff. Good stuff to share. So speaking about, on the topic of income generators, time blocking and follow-up, let's talk about classifying leads. So leads is a word that I feel like a lot of people use really loosely. What's a lead? What's not a lead? Who's a lead? Who's not a lead? Right? So let's break it down. Let's see. Definitely. Someone said definitely. I get distracted and need to focus on all this. Good. Thank you. Thank you for that. Good awareness. And thanks for being brave. Any person is a lead. Thank you, Ruby. I like that.
Good stuff.
Cool. This is good stuff. I like it. Yeah, keep popping into the chat. You guys have got great stuff to say. Thank you, by the way. Discipline equals results. Thanks, Alex.
Alex, that a baby.
Alex. Good one. Cool. So classifying leads. We've got our A's, B's, and our C's. Okay. A's, B's, and C's. This is my favorite way to classify a lead. You know what type of leads I like? A's. I like A leads. I'm going to walk you through the RCC definition of an A, B, and C lead. And I want you to ask yourselves, which one of these categories are you spending the most amount of time with? Okay. So an A lead is a ready and willing and able buyer that takes your advice. I will repeat, ready, willing, able, takes your advice, right? Your A is if I go, Mike, you want to write an offer on this house? Here's what it's going to take. I'm going to need you to do these 5 things on your offer. I'm going to need you to talk to this person, do this, do that. And Mike says, show me the way, Amanda. Mike is my perfect client. Mike is the person that I will cancel date night for if Mike wants to see a house. Yeah, you've earned that right, Michael.
Thanks.
You're welcome. So an A is someone that is going to act and they're going to take our advice. We love our A's, right? Then we've got our next category. We've got our B's. Our B leads, they might be ready and able. They might not be willing to do what they need to do. And a B doesn't necessarily take your advice. As a matter of fact, I'm going to have you guys jump into the chat with just a quick yes. Has any client ever said to you, well, if it's meant to be, it's meant to be? Has any lead ever said that to you? Yes, all the time. Yes, yes, yes. So it's overwhelming. The results are yes. If I can't sell it, I'll just rent it. Yeah, you got yourself a B seller, Matt. Right? B's will literally say things like, if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. Right? So they're nice, they're great, and they're not going to take our advice. Maybe they're not willing to jump on a house. They're awesome, but they're just not quite like Mike, right? And then we've got our C leads. Our C leads, they got something weird going on, right? Maybe they are not pre-approved yet. Maybe they're like not really wanting to talk to your lender very much, you know? Maybe they've got a house to sell before they can buy. Maybe they're contingent and they won't put their house on the market and they want to write a bunch of contingent offers. Or maybe the C type of lead loves to see houses, but they're in no rush. They're in no rush. There is no way that I'm going to be canceling my date night for a C lead. If I've been working with someone for like, 2, 3, 4 months, and I'm like, come on, what are we doing here? I just want to shake them, right? C's just don't act. So I'm going to ask you, let's see, Frank Kenny, unmotivated next. I like that. I don't know if you did the snap when you typed that, but I did it for you. But yeah, so you're C, you like that one, Mike. So
I'm sure he did. I'm nearly positive he did.
I think he might. Yes. So we've got our A's, B's, and C's. Who are you spending the most amount of time with? My favorite thing to do is not waste my time. I would much rather not show houses on a weekend than to spend all weekend long showing houses to a bunch of C clients. Because what happens is you're tricking yourself into thinking you've got clients when you don't. Right? And another thing about A, B, and C leads, you'll see this graphic at the bottom with the green and the red and the yellow. It's not like a, off the wall Christmas pattern. This is my pipeline. This is an example of a pipeline. As you can see, I've got them all categorized here. Green is A, yellow is B, red is C. People are constantly going on and off this pipeline, up and down this pipeline, right? So if one day I wake up in the top lead right there, let's say John and Lori, right? John and Lori, what if they're a seller and what if they're like, nope, I'm not going to drop my price. I think my price is fair. I've been on the market for 104 days. I'm fine where we are. If it's meant to be, it's meant to be. I'm going to put them at a B, right? And same thing with all these C's right here. If I can't get them to start moving up the pipeline, I'm going to demote them. I'm going to demote them from the pipeline to a lead, right? So,
hey, Amanda,
yeah,
a couple questions in there. What CRM are you using?
We use Sync, Commissions Inc.
Okay.
Commissions Inc. What else?
I use Boomtown. So
Boomtown?
Boomtown and well, I think we're switching to Follow Up Boss here in a little bit, but
Cool.
they all kind of do the same thing. Sorry, continue.
Oh, good. No, thank you for the question, Frank. I love it. What CRM are you using? Just kidding. Cool. So if we look at item C here, we've got lead pond versus lead pipeline. So I mentioned if someone's not behaving the way that is an A lead, or they're not moving up the pipeline, they get demoted, they move down the pipeline. And you're probably thinking, well, what happens? What happens when they move from a C? Then where do they go? They go off my pipeline, which is where I keep all my clients, my active clients that I'm working that are going to make me money soon. Then I move them to a pond. I move them back from client to a lead. A lead and a client are two different things, right? So a lead is someone that we're actively working to convert to a client, right? So make sure you know the difference and make sure you're following up with the right people. The people on your pipeline, your A's, your B's, your C's, you've met them, you've had consults with them, you know their goals, you know their plans, you know what's going on with their lender, you know if they're pre-approved or not, right? A lead is someone maybe you've met one time. Maybe it's an open house, or excuse me, maybe it's a sign call that called once and you showed them your listing and then you never talk to them again. That person's not on your pipeline, that's a lead. And just because they're not on your pipeline and just because you haven't converted them immediately, that doesn't mean that they're not worthy of follow-up. They go in your CRM and they're followed up with in your time blocked lead generation, lead follow-up time, right? Every lead should have a reminder set. We can't just rely on the old noggin to make sure that we're following up with our leads appropriately. We got to have reminders and you got to do it. Again, like Mike mentioned, obedience versus discipline, right? Are you just going to,
absolutely.
Yeah. Are you just going to set a reminder and then not do it? No.
That's half the battle, setting a reminder.
Yeah. And then the other half is doing it.
You're right. Right.
Yeah.
Hey, Amanda, I have a question for you. Because I used something similar to this a long time ago where I just categorize my leads by time frame, and the ABC thing's brilliant. What do you do? I mean, do you think it changes your approach on your calls or on your follow-up if you just realize you have a lot of yellow and red? Because you need something a little bit more right now, or vice versa. If you have a lot of green, but you don't have any yellow or red, what does that do to your dialogues?
Really good question. So if I have all green, then I'm either about to be the richest person I know, or I'm lying to myself.
Right.
I mean, we'll just put it that way. Are they really an A? But if I'm looking and I have all B's and C's and I don't really have any A's, then I need to find myself some A's. That means I need to work the heck out of my leads that I have. I need to find a whole plethora of A's, B's, and C's to start putting in the funnel. Because here's the thing is you never know what you're going to get if you don't pick up the phone and start working those leads. If you start going fishing in your pond, so to say. When I say pond, I mean your pond of leads that you have gathered over years and years of lead generation, open houses, web leads, Facebook, Ylopo leads, Zillow leads. You've got it. There's somewhere. So you never know what you're going to find if you don't pick up the phone and start making phone calls. So what I do is I pick up the phone. Time to find some A's, and I'm going to find some B's, and I'm going to find some C's, and I'm going to find some people that are going to go tell me to go kick rocks and fly a kite and pound sand. And that's okay too, because I love the no's. Every no I get is one step closer to a yes.
That's right.
I love no's. I love yeses, but what I don't like are maybes. I don't know. What do you do with a maybe? I don't know. They don't know either. So we got to figure out, where did they go? Does that help?
100%.
Cool. Cool.
I put in the chat, CRMs are your choice. They all essentially do the same thing. You can argue some have different bells and whistles, it just depends on what you're trying to accomplish with your content. But I think the overarching thing, if you didn't see in the chat, is that diligent usage of your CRM trumps everything else. So if you're a really good note taker, if you're a really good lead sorter, if you're a really good follow-up setter, whatever it is that you're doing, make sure your future self knows what they're doing, because it will thank your present day self, right? It's like Back to the Future. You don't want to be erased from the photograph, right?
A good one.
Really weird, right? But you want to make sure that if you're using it daily and you are giving your future self a chance to succeed, I mean, you don't want to set a bunch of follow-ups for next Thursday or something and not put any context to it. Help your future self out, because that Thursday self is going to wake up and want to get stuff done by 11 a.m., not try and decipher what your previous self thought you meant a week ago. We're realtors. We've got goldfish brains sometimes. So do your future self a favor. And like we talked, we only have the same amount of time in a day. I think Chase and I were talking. I think Bernadette was talking about it. I think Brian was talking about it. It's just really, you've got to set yourself up for what it is that you're trying to accomplish, either getting better with language, getting better with technology, right? So the CRM will help you do that.
Absolutely.
Let's advance. Are we ready to move on to the next one?
Oh, I'm advanced ready. Let's do it.
Move on. Okay. Don't read ahead. You're going to want to, but when you take an internet lead, the client or the customer wants two things. They have two questions. Is the house available, and can I see it? The answers to those two questions, hopefully, that you're giving them are yes. Here's what I say. I'm going to give you a quick script. When somebody calls, we take Zillow leads, and we take some realtor leads and some OpCity stuff and some retargeted ads. We take everything, right? And they're all kind of the same. Some are better than others, but here's the thing. When somebody says they have an inquiry on 123, Pineapple Street, we answer the phone. Hey, it's Mike Shaw with DRG. Looks like you want to see, I don't even give them a chance to talk. Looks like you want to see 123 Pineapple Street. Listen, I can show it to you right now if the seller will let us. How does that sound? How does that start, guys? Remember, my energy, the first 6 seconds that anybody hears your voice, they're going to decide whether or not they lucked out and got a good agent, or whether or not they think they can do better. or at least we need to be paranoid to think that way. So if I hit them with, hey, I want to show you this house right now. I think the seller could let us in if we call them right now. How would that sound for you? Whether or not the seller can let us in, or whether or not your schedule even allows for you to show the property, it doesn't matter. You're giving them a yes before they even ask the question. Then you could call them back in 10 minutes and say, hey, I tried to schedule. It looks like the seller's not accepting a showing until 4. How would that work for you? Right? We could work around that. But is the house available? Yes, it's available. Can I see it? Absolutely. What time works best for you? I'll make it work. Okay. Right there, we're hitting them with something positive. We're hitting them with something that makes us unghostable. And then when we hang up the phone, I text them and say, hey, it was so awesome talking to you, Amanda. I can't wait to see you at 4 o'clock Central Time, 123 Banana Street. This is my personal cell. Remember, if they're from the internet, they probably don't have your information. This is my personal cell. Would it be all right if I scheduled another property just to kill 2 birds with 1 stone? How would that sound? Right? You're being opportunistic. And then I'm calling them back once I set the appointment. So in the span of about an hour, they've heard my voice twice and they've gotten a text from me once. Yes or yes, that makes me a hard guy to no call, no show.
Mhm. I love
I'm
that.
intense today, and for good reason, probably just because the character that you go in when you take an internet lead has to be a better version of probably who you are in real life, because they don't know you and they can't see you, and lots of things get lost in translation over the phone. And what I had to learn a long time ago was I had to be my attitude determined my altitude on the phone. I had to go into some sort of actor mode, where I just sounded cooler than I really was. And if you guys get to know me ever, I'm really not that cool. So it's one of those things where we got to do our best in that first 15 seconds. And since we know that the consumer is expecting brilliance and 5-star service, you owe it to yourself, not them yet. You owe it to yourself to give them that right away. They're not going to warm up to you and be like, well, I guess I'll use them. Because here's what happens. You go on the appointment and your energy has to match the experience that you gave them on the phone. Because number one, what are these people saying about you when they leave the showing or when they leave the appointment? Actually, let's make this interactive. We got some time. In the chat, guys, when you go on your first appointment, you take an internet lead, you convert it, right? Well, you sort of convert it, and you meet them at that first house. What are you wanting that couple or that person to say about you as you guys are splitting away and driving off?
Mm-hmm. So they're talking about you. What a badass.
Yeah. Right? What else?
There's always that chatter, especially if it's like a husband, wife, or like a partner. They're like in the car, they're driving like, oh, honey, what'd you think of that house? I'm like, what about that mic? Right?
Yeah, he looks like he cuts his own hair. I think he still has a baby tooth. I'm not sure. That's true, by the way. What are you guys wanting them to say about you? Did they meet up with the person that they want to spend the most money they've ever spent in their entire lives? Do they want to put their business with you? Or are they saying, oh, Amanda, she was a nice girl.
She was
a nice lady.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so a lot of times, when I'm coaching our local agents here, I hear, gosh darn, I can't figure out why I'm getting ghosted. I can't figure out why people aren't calling me back. I don't know what's going on. These leads, they've changed. It's like, has the lead changed or have you not changed? The truth of the matter is we are just not that special. And I want to dramatically pause there. We are just not that special. The client just wants to see a house. So if I am overdoing it on the phone, I'm over qualifying and I'm over proving that I'm the #1 guy in the month of June and 4 years ago, like they don't care. They don't care that our brokerage closes whatever 1,700 houses a year. They don't care that my conversion rate is 49%. So it doesn't matter. They want to know, is the house available and can I see it? So your conversion is probably suffering in these 3 areas, and all of which, if you think that you're suffering in one particular area, it's super easy to coach. And it probably has something to do with you not tracking it. So really quick in the chat, if you guys are still here, hopefully, where do you think that just be honest, if you don't want to answer, you don't have to, but where do you think your conversion is suffering? In that calls period, or in the appointment, the showing, or do you think it's in the follow-up? And I'll be honest, I'll tell you where mine suffers. Here I go. I'm gonna go first.
Oh, me too. Oh, wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyone else? And we don't have time to coach you through this. Calls. There you go.
Calls. Okay.
Yep. So we track everything. We have these spreadsheets and they look like a foreign language, right? It looks like the Matrix. We track everything. And what I've come to learn is that really only one column matters. And after that column, I generally see the agent's conversion be right where we want it to be, or right where they want it to be. It's their MET rate. And if you guys are Zillow people or whatever, but it's appointment rate, it's show rate, whatever you want to call it. It's how many people are you getting in front of? Because if you're not setting a lot of appointments and you're taking a lot of leads, or you're having a lot of conversations with people, it means something is breaking down on the call. And we listen to calls, we do this, we coach you through it. You're not a bad person. It could be a combination of a bunch of things, right? Could be your volume. It could be you sounded distracted. It could be you're asking too many questions, or you just sound weird, right? But you're not asking for the business is typically kind of where you're not ending with action on that call. Then if you're going on the show, you're going a lot of showings, right? I'm showing everybody else. I'm going like 10 appointments a week, but you're not converting those into second showings or a second time out with them. Something is happening at the showing. They're driving away and they're saying that guy just, I don't know, I didn't get along with him, or he was a nice dude, or he didn't have anything. He just kind of stood in the corner and stared at his phone, whatever. Then if you're actually meeting with a lot of people and then something happens that they ghost you, that's the follow-up issue. Okay. And as we know, the follow-up, there we go, more follow-up stuff. If the fortune's in the follow-up, and we know from the other day that we know your follow-up probably needs to have a 6 to 24 month plan, why are you not beefing this up? If you know that that's what they expect, to be that refrigerator magnet, hey, it's me, it's Amanda, hey, it's Mike, just making sure, just checking in.
Oh,
is that good enough?
Checking in.
Checking in. Hey, let me know. Number one, guys, you guys say let me know again, I want you to think about me and think about how much I hate that word. And pretty much, and basically, and essentially, omit that stuff from your vocabulary, right? That's so vanilla. If everybody's getting content from you, and it's so much more relevant, and it's so much more tangible and actionable content than everyone else that they could be getting content from realtor wise. Look, you're not the only one. They're probably talking to other realtors too. Which one do you think they're going to go with? Okay. You think someone's driving on the highway and sees a for sale sign like, oh man, I better let Amanda know.
Probably not.
No. So anyway, I'm gonna, not to belabor this slide, but if you track your numbers, you're gonna find that conversion is directly tied to how many people that you meet. And it's gonna be directly tied to how many times you end with action. So a typical end of a phone call for me is, great, that sounds good. I'm gonna set that up for 4 o'clock. Amanda, the next thing that you're gonna hear from me is my text message going through to you, and it's going to confirm our appointment, and it's going to have my cell phone in there. And if you need to see any other properties, you can reach me directly at this number. There is an action plan for that. And then I'm going to call you either way once that appointment is confirmed, or if we need to pick a different time. Mm-hmm. That's the end with action, because then that person feels like they're being taken care of. There's a plan. Wow, cool. I got somebody good. Okay. And you just became their number one choice. Okay. The trick is managing your follow-up.
Mm-hmm. On that note too, is I'm thinking, you said the call needs to end in action, but I also think that the showing needs to end in action too.
100%.
Right? What, you don't just be like, all right, Mike, well, I showed you this house. See ya. And
awkward driveway conversation.
Yeah. Or you like back into the bush, like that Homer Simpson meme. Like, right? There's got to be a plan.
Yeah.
Like, okay, Mike, so great to meet you. Thank you for sharing everything with me about your goals and your needs. It sounds like you need to get in the house within the next 90 days. In order to make that happen, I'm going to have you go ahead and connect with my preferred lender. Like, you see where I'm going with this, right?
Yeah.
I'm giving Mike a plan. I'm not just saying, oh, Mike, you need to buy a house in 90 days. Well, gosh, peace be with you, sir. Like,
Call you in January.
yeah, I'll call you, right? We got to give them a plan. Both parties should be walking away with a plan, because we're thinking, remember Mike asked a question, is what are they saying after they meet with you? Are they also clear on the plan? And are you clear on the plan? Right?
I'm thinking, like, I always try to think, you know, I'm a former teacher, and I always try to think, like, do I think people are picking up on what we're saying? And I'm hearing you talk to me. I'm trying to pretend like I'm the student here. I would be in my own head right now if I'm listening to this of like, what are people saying about me? And for those of you who are like, I don't care what people think about me. Yes, you do. You're in real estate. So what are people saying about you? And I want you to think about that. We're going to get into reflective practitioner here in a couple slides, but look at this slide real quick. Take about 15, 20 seconds and just scan through this. Put in the chat, if you could, please, which statistic speaks to you here? And I love this infographic so much because it illustrates the struggle in what we do in converting leads. I'm like, we can be honest, if you don't take internet leads, that's okay. But you probably get referrals. And you got to follow up with them, and you got to be quick to respond to them. There we go. Best 3 days. Love it. 238%. Holy cow. Oh. Yeah.
She's coding to us.
Yeah. The average lead requires over 5 attempts to make contact. 78% convert with the first. Yes. Carolyn, that's my favorite too. 78% of prospects convert the first party to make contact. Okay. Then the follow-up, best 5 hours to contact and qualify a lead. Holy cannoli. What can we talk about here? Why are some of these times most important? Awkward pause, and maybe I'll answer that for you because we're not all together. But sometimes we all want to prospect at the times that work best for us. Well, guess what? People are working. People are sleeping. People are having a lunch break. They're on, you know, they're in a meeting or whatever. So sometimes you have to move your clock a little bit to put yourself in a position to follow up at the times that work best for the client. And those hours are as follows. Why is 4 o'clock to 5 o'clock a good time to contact somebody? We always think like, oh, I should contact somebody from like, you know, 8:30 to 10 o'clock. People are just getting to work. They probably can't be messing around being on the phone. There you go. Ivan, they're home already.
Yeah.
They're wrapping up their day. They're in the car. They're driving, checking all their texts or whatever, right? So they're in a prime position. Or you're going to find, if you track this stuff, you're going to find when the high traffic hours for your leads that are coming inbound. That might not be a bad place to start. Maybe people are taking a break. Maybe you're following up with some stuff that came through overnight, whatever it is. But alter your clock to be prospecting during these prime hours. Any other time? Any other thing on this infographic that you're seeing that you'd like?
Oh, I'll share my favorite. I like responding to leads in the first minute can improve conversion as much as 391%. Responding to leads in the first minute. So let's just say you get a new sync lead or Ylopo or Boomtown or Follow Up Boss. You get some, Facebook, whatever it is. You see that come through, your next thing, you dive for your phone, you pick up that phone, you make that phone call. The faster you respond to them, the higher your odds are of success. If you call them the next day, do you know how many other websites they've probably been tooling around on in the last 24 hours?
Oh, you're cooked. You're done.
Done.
They've moved on.
Amy nailed it. If not, someone else is on it. Because they're not only on Amanda Ashby's website, they're on Mike Shaw's website, they're on Amy's website, they're on Alex's website. They probably clicked a Zillow button. Maybe they're on realtor.com. Like, Who knows? But someone was probably faster than you if you don't call them in 24 hours.
Sarah, man, this is such a cool question. Speed to lead, but how do you find the balance between being prompt and being creepy? So I think that's just in your word choice. I think that's in your dialogue. Oh yeah, hey, I see you're on my website. No, no, no. Yeah. I think what you do is you say, hey, Sarah, I wanted to make sure that you were like one of the first people I got back to today. I didn't want everybody else to be bombing your phone. So, hey, real quick, there's a couple houses that I noticed might be a good fit for you. If you've seen them on my website, cool. I just figured, I thought of Sarah once I saw these properties. Give a look at 123 Pineapple Street. It just got reduced 10 grand and they're having an open house on Sunday. Let's give them a reason to cancel that open house. Just something to that effect. And then if Sarah, you're like, oh my gosh, I actually just saw that on your website. You did? Oh, cool. Well, it made me think of you. I think it's just, you don't want to be too quick. Somebody logs into your website and you call them within 30 seconds. That might be a little weird, but we're talking about maybe like the inbound lead. If your phone rings, you definitely want to pick it up. Or if you're being delivered a lead from an ISA or what have you, delaying that might be the opportunity that the other realtor needs out there to reach them first. We used to take realtor.com leads and we would actually try to keep them on the phone, kind of like it was like the police talking to the serial killer. The serial killer's like, you'll never find me. And then the guy in the background's like, keep him talking, we'll try to find out where he is. That's what we would do. We would keep them on the phone because we knew that when they click contact agent, dozens of other agents would be trying to call them. So if I was first, they'd get a bunch of missed calls while we were talking. So I kind of quit worrying about being creepy and quit worrying about how it looks. Is if I call with value and I call and I'm trying to deliver information, they don't see it as being creepy. So I hope that answered your question. Amanda, is that
Yes,
crazy?
I like the serial killer hostage analogy. That was good. I've never heard that one before, but I liked it.
I just watched a lot of shows. That's the way they do it. I don't, not from experience or anything.
Right.
Cool. Well, hey, here's the infographic. And we'll share all this stuff with you just so in case you want this for yourself. So, all right. Do you want to take this, Amanda, or you want?
Why don't we tag team this one?
Okay. Sounds good.
Yeah, I'll dive in first and we can just kind of like Beastie Boys jump in back and forth. So, brutal realities of conversion. We said brutal because sometimes the truth can be brutal. Ouch. Right? So before I dive into these bullet points here, I just want to think about your lead generation, your lead follow-up, right? Like, oh, well, I did my time block and 9 to 11 and I made my calls and I didn't set any appointments. Oh, I asked people, okay, well, how many calls did you make? 9. Oh, Mike made a face, right? Okay, 9, got it. So clearly you need to reach out to more than 9 people. And I'm like, okay, Mike, so out of those 9 people that you tried calling, how many picked up the phone? None. Okay, got it. So in 2 hours, you reached out to 9 people and 0 people responded. Is that what I'm hearing? Yep. Right? So basically what I'm trying to get at here is in that short amount of time that you did your lead gen and you reached out to 9 people, you didn't set any appointments. What that tells me, you didn't reach out to enough people. It's a numbers game. And your success and your GCI and the number of houses you sell and the amount of METs that you have and the amount of appointments that you set all tracks back to one metric. How many conversations are you having, right? So basically what you do is if we look at number 2, how many calls do you need to take to convert? If you're tracking your calls versus your contacts versus appointments, you're going to know that, right? There was a point in time where I was so disciplined with this as I had like a spreadsheet. It's like today I made 27 contacts. I spoke to 6 people. I set 2 appointments. Right? So I knew I was so dialed. I knew that if I kept following that formula, that typically, on average, it would take me to talk to 6 people to set 2 appointments, right? And these are like old leads, like sifting through the pond. Again, leads, not pipeline, right? Leads. So you need to calculate how many weekly appointments do you need to hit your goals? You need to look at your conversion through a microscope, right? And you need to ask yourself, how many houses do I want to sell? Okay, I want to sell X amount of houses. Great. Well, in order to sell X amount of houses, I need to go on X amount of appointments. Because, right, you got to keep in mind, you go on appointments, there's a fallout rate. If you were to convert 100% of the appointments that you go on, that's awesome. Keep doing that. But in reality, things pop up. Not every single person we have a face-to-face meeting with is going to buy a house. Just is what it is. So you got to figure out, how many appointments do you need to set? How many do you need to hold to get you to your ultimate goal of how much money do you want to make, or how many contracts do you want to have? How many homes do you want to sell? Right? Mike, what else do you have to plus that?
When you guys travel somewhere and you plug in an address in your GPS and you hit start or go or whatever, you just start driving and hope you get there and you don't even look at the screen? No, how crazy would that be? You know, when you go to Target and you put all your, you guys have Targets?
Of course we have Targets.
I don't know.
I love
I'm
Target.
in the Midwest. We're like, maybe the coast has new stores now and we're still, you know, I don't know.
You have
Anyway, so when you guys go to Target, you put all your stuff on the conveyor belt and be like, oh, hold on a second. I'm gonna go home and get my wallet. Forgot it. You know, like, no, you go prepared. You pay attention to what the cause and effect of things are. So if I say, hey, Amanda, how much do you want to make this year, GCI, you know, just after taxes, you want to be pulling in a comfortable figure of whatever, just, you know, $100,000. Are you not paying attention to how many contracts it takes to actually get there? Are you not paying attention to how many contracts you have to actually have to write to win those however many deals? Are you not paying attention to how many appointments it takes to get in a position just to even be able to write? And then we go back and back and back and back of, really, how many people does it take to even set an appointment? You know, how many people do you need to be contacting or touching, you know, text, email, call, face-to-face, social media messages, all that stuff. So what I'm seeing is a lot of us just aren't getting up early enough, or we're not mentally ready to be able to ask for that business. We can put in the calls, like you could write 1 through 50, like I said earlier this week, on a piece of paper and be like, I'm gonna make 50 calls a day, right? Well, okay, great, congratulations. But you've got to be the one to give yourself a gold star on how many of those you can actually convert and what you're actually saying in those conversations. So when we talk about backwards design, it's, yes, you need to know what you're wanting to get done by the end of 2022 or 2023, but back it all into, how early do I have to get up, or when do I need to be doing my prospecting? Because if I'm not meeting 5 to 6 new people a week, that figure just isn't happening. It just won't, right? Unless you just sell one $15 million house every quarter, you know, or whatever is commensurate for your market. So I like to track, you know, and so if it's Wednesday and I'm like, really, I need to get 4 appointments this week, and I'm rolling a donut on Wednesday, I don't give up. I mean, Thursday and Friday are big freaking days for me. That's just that's the winner mindset you have to have. Or if you've gotten 4 or 5 appointments by Wednesday, do you take Thursday and Friday off? I don't know. Or do you get after it because next week might not be so fun? These are the things where, when we talk about conversion, I'm paying attention to. I've gotten 65 leads this quarter and I'm converting at 21%. What am I doing so well? Or am I just getting lucky? And therefore, that kind of leads into this last slide. How are we doing on time? We got 2 minutes.
Yeah, we got power minute here.
Let's blast it. Go for it.
We're gonna blast into reflective practitioner. So we've talked about quickly here, what are people saying when they're leaving appointments with us, right? Are we seeing enough appointments? Are we going on enough appointments? One thing to help you sharpen your saw quickly and efficiently is to be a reflective practitioner. So this is something that really, really helped me in my growth. I learned it from my coach, Craig Rieger of RCC, right? He challenged me. He said, after every appointment you go on, whether you lock down that client or not, this was for listings specifically, but it works for anything. For every appointment that you go on, even if you got a contract signed or not, I want you to write down the 5 things that you could have done better. Thanks, Frank. See ya. Write down the 5 things that you could have done better. And just sit down before you even start your car, before you look at your phone, write down those 5 things while it's fresh in your brain. And now you've got it fresh in your brain. Now you know this is what I don't do next time, right? You can also write down the 5 things you did well, but I like the 5 things I could have done better.
Exactly.
Cool. We also got to realize that conversion doesn't happen overnight. So you always have to be analyzing. What did I do? What could I have done better? What's working? What's not working? Obviously, you don't want to switch it up every single day and only give one method 1 second of your time, right? You got to keep showing up and you got to keep doing it and be consistent. That's the key. And the final piece is you should be paranoid that someone's out there working on perfecting their process harder than you. Be paranoid.
Yep. That's the old professor told me somebody out there is doing it better than you. And then there's a bunch of people trying to do it better than you. Or be paranoid that there's no one out there dogging it. Everyone out there is grinding and you're the only one that's taking the day off. I mean, sometimes that's all you need. That's the motivator, is be worried that somebody out there isn't shutting it down for the winter. They're looking to leapfrog over you because they think you're going to quit. And that drives everything, guys. That drives the call, that drives the showing, that drives the follow-up, that drives how well you get into your CRM and track everything. It all backs into those daily tasks, the sucky stuff, right? That just isn't fun in real estate. But if you think somebody out there is doing this better, it makes it easier for you to level up. So I think that's all we have. And final slide is, if you need any more help, here's the last slide, how to contact us. Also, if you want to follow any of us or RCC on Instagram, leave us a testimonial or a review how you think that we did. We would really appreciate that. And we hope you thought that this content was good.
It's good. We loved it. Thanks for the participation. Thanks for showing up. Now take it and implement it and sell some houses, guys. Take care.
See you guys.
Bye.
Bye.